Happy Sunday, guys. So as promised, I have another video for you today, and today's video is all about counselling again. It was World Mental Health Day yesterday and the theme was suicide prevention, and I did a video yesterday all about my personal experience of mental health and kind of my journey over the past 8 to 10 years, and all the ups and downs that I had been through over the past decade. I wanted to share them with you guys just to kind of show that life is just a roller coaster and it really is ups and downs. But the purpose of that video was to kind of see if I could just help one person feel like there was something next, like there was another day and the day was going to get better, their week was going to get better, their month was going to get better, my job here was done. Because I have been in a suicidal position before, and I would never wish that on anybody. So I just wanted to come back today and answer some of your questions, because I put out an Instagram question thing the other day, and a couple of you sent me some questions because you wanted to know some bits about counselling and my experiences. I've done the 2 separate videos because the previous video was already like 25 minutes long. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter, but I'm going to be hopefully answering some of your more specific questions around counselling. I have a cup of tea. It's Sunday and the sun is out and I'm so here for this autumnal sunshine. It is a little bit chilly, but I just thought today was the perfect day to sit down and share with you some answers to your questions. So here we go. So the first question that I got asked was, where do you even start? And that is such a great question, because I think when you're in that dark place, not even knowing where to start is just such a massive wall for moving forward. So I would say my answer to this question is go to the doctor. Go to your local mental health nurse if you have one, or just go and see your local GP, because they will be able to refer you onto the mental health department, is that what they call it, in your local area, and that's where you will be able to be signed up for therapy or counselling or group therapy, like I did back in the beginning when I first started having panic attacks. If you're at university like I was, I just went again to my local my university doctor and asked to be referred. You need to be really specific on what you want and say, I have mental health issues, I'm suffering from panic attacks, I really need help, and be very clear in what you want. I wasn't in the early days, and when it came to being put in group counselling, I knew immediately it wasn't the right thing for me, but I just sat it out and thought, actually, let's see how this goes, and I shouldn't have done, and I should have said, nope, I need one-to-one help, and I need it now. I was on a waiting list for about 16 weeks, which is just insane to me, that you can break your finger and go to A&E and be seen in hours, but you have a mental health issue and you can't be seen for weeks on end. But that's a whole different story, different topic, and one that I'm not qualified to talk about because I don't know the stats and whatnot. But yeah, I waited quite a long time to see anybody in the early good days, but you've just got to stick with it, and you will get assigned to a mental health nurse or a counsellor, and then they will put you on usually they put you on like a package, not a package, what do you call it, a program for like 8 to 6 weeks. 8 to 6? That doesn't even make sense. I've definitely got my Sunday brain on today. 6 to 8 weeks on a program, or longer if you ask for it. But in hindsight, one lesson that I've learned is that you need to ask for what you need. After I was put into the group counselling sessions, after a couple of months, I did ask to be put on one-to-one support, which I was, but again I had to wait another 16 weeks because the waiting list, obviously before the one-to-one support, was even longer than the group counselling, group sessions. So yeah, doctors, they will refer you to the mental health service in your area, then you will get to be signed up you'll get signed up to a nurse, mental health nurse, or to a counsellor, and just that's how you get started. If you want to go private though, and I've spoken about this in my other video, I did go private after about 4 or 5 years of seeing counsellors through the NHS, and I did that through finding someone on findacounsellor.com. I keep saying that, and I'm going to really regret it. I'll put it down below if that's not true at all, and that's not the URL of the website. But yeah, I sought out counsellors in my area and then signed up with them. It's a super easy process. So you obviously do have to pay for private counselling, but when I reached the point where I knew I could finance that, I did it because I knew that that was the best thing for me. But know that I realised that I was in a privileged position at that point, and not everybody can do that. The NHS is an amazing mental health service, and I would highly recommend it. So if you can go private, do it. If you can't, go with the NHS. Either way, you will be getting the help that you need to move forward. So question number 2 is, how do you pick a therapist? So I did just Google actually between looking at this question and recording again, and the website is called Counselling Directory. So all you need to do is go online, go to Counselling Directory, put in your postcode, and it will bring you up an array of counsellors in your local area. You just need to pick one that you think that you're going to get along with, which I realise is a risk, and I have had counsellors I didn't like in the past, but it's just the risk you have to take with it, unfortunately. Pick someone who you think looks nice, because they will upload a picture and their name and their qualifications and what kind of areas of mental health that they focus on as well. That's quite important depending on what your personal situation is. And then just pick one. I would always give yourself 3-4 weeks with them just to kind of test the water, see how you feel, see how open you feel with them, see how much you trust them, and then stick with them if you really like them. If you don't like them, get someone else. Like, it's as simple as that. Don't feel bad about it. You're paying them for your time. So yeah, that's what I did. I've left counsellors in the past where I didn't get along with how they worked or how they made me feel during counselling, but the lady that I see now is just incredible, and she makes me feel very at ease and calm and able to be honest and open. So I would say that that's the best way to pick a counsellor. Question 3 I've kind of already answered. It was, how do you get referred to get therapy or counselling? So I kind of answered that in question 1, about just the way you've got to go about it is just go to your doctor, get referred via your GP, and then they will transfer you through to a different to the mental health service on the NHS, and that's when it all begins basically. So I won't repeat that question. Do you pay privately or go to the NHS? Again, that's what I've just answered in the previous question. So as I mentioned previously, I have had NHS therapy before. I had about 5 years of therapy on the NHS, both group therapy and one-to-one therapy. After around 5 years, because I was holding down a stable job, I was able to financially support myself to go private, because at the time that was the best thing for me. But as I said, now I go privately with my counselling, and the lady that I see is just a business in herself, and she runs her own business, and I pay to see her every week. Well, not every week at the moment because I can't really afford it, but sometimes I've seen her every week, sometimes I've seen her every other week, and sometimes I have breaks between blocks as well. So I may see her for 6 to 8 weeks, then have a break for 3-4 months, and then start to see her again. But it's really simple when I just WhatsApp her when I'm ready to, when I want to see her again, to start counselling. So it's really as simple as that. So yeah, at the moment I'm still private. It's not to say that I wouldn't go back to the NHS for counselling if I needed it. I definitely would if I really needed help and I wasn't able to financially support myself through private counselling. So yeah, at the moment I have private counselling. The next question, question 5, is how much does it cost? And I feel like that's a really difficult question to answer, because it varies so much, to be quite honest. Of course, through the NHS it's free, but then my counselling since I've been going privately has varied so much. At the moment I pay £50 per hour, but I have paid £95 per hour. I have paid £30 per hour. When I went to counselling on the NHS through Mind, I was paying £20 an hour. So it really varies, and it varies depending on what type of counselling you're after. The psychotherapy that I went to 5 years ago, that was the £95 an hour one, because it was intense but it worked. And that's not to say that counselling that's cheap doesn't work, because it does. Obviously the free counselling on the NHS does work, but it varies because people can set their own prices. It will depend on the qualifications and the level of qualifications of the counsellor that you're seeing when you go privately, as well as the topics that they cover. So it isn't an answer a question I can answer, I'm afraid, because it has varied from £20 to £100 more or less. Question number 6 is what to expect. It's a difficult one to answer again, because every person's situation is unique, and depending on what you're seeing a counsellor or a therapist for will depend on what the outcome is and how it goes, really. I have struggled in the past with counselling, with knowing what I should be getting out of it or how I should be feeling after counselling, and I've sometimes struggled with not feeling like it's living up to expectations, I guess. But I think that just depends on the type of counsellor that you go to see. Now I'm with my lovely counsellor that I adore. I leave those sessions feeling like a new person, overwhelmed and emotional, but like a new person, like I've dealt with some really tough stuff and then walked out the door into the world, and I'm like, yeah, great, I feel like I can conquer the world again. But then there are days when I have seen her also where I feel like I've just been for a chat with a friend. So you have got to be open and honest and accountable, and there is literally no point, and this is something I've learned over the years, there is literally no point in going to counselling or therapy and not being honest and open, because you cannot move forward and through difficult periods of your life and deal with things if you are keeping stuff back from a counsellor, because the only way that they can help you help yourself is if you're honest with them and you give them the full picture as such. So definitely in the early days I would hold a lot back. For so many years I held back telling anybody about certain elements of my mental health. But in the past 12 months since I have been on this kind of transformational journey, I've been more raw and honest than I've ever been before in my life, which obviously is tough, but I have gained so much out of it by doing that. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, until only like 12 months ago I'd never cried in a counselling session, and when I did it felt like a bit of a, oh shit, this is how counselling should be kind of thing. I'm not saying that you need to cry in a counselling session to feel like that, but just because the last 12 months with me with counselling has been so important to my mental health anyway, yeah. But it's also, again, going back to question 4 about picking the right counsellor, right therapist, why you've sometimes just got to test the water with a few until you feel like you get the right one. But yeah, I think that kind of answers your question on what to expect. You will walk into a room generally and there'll be a seat, a little cozy seat, I don't know what they call them anymore, sofa seat thing, and you'll sit there and they'll sit like across the room from you, and it will be quite a small room, but often, like every room that I've ever been in has a window, and they put a glass of water on the table, and there's usually a box of tissues as well. I guess in case people cry. So yeah, and then you talk and they'll ask you how you are and what you're doing, and obviously in the early stages they'll want to kind of understand why you're there, and then the conversation will just flow. There's never any structure to a conversation, it just goes as it is, and the counsellor will ask you questions about certain topics, often uncomfortable topics, and get you to kind of really think about how you're feeling and why you're feeling like that. So yeah, I would say that's the best way to answer what to expect. Question 7, is it question 7? How do you deal with really personal stuff? Is it easy to tell them? So I feel like I keep answering the next question in the previous question. So as I've said just now, being raw and honest and open with your therapist is the most important thing you can do. And to be honest, if you're paying for it, if you're going private, why would you want to waste, this is what I keep telling myself all the time, why would you want to waste 50 quid, 100 quid a go to just chat with a mate? Like, you need to open up with your therapist and be honest about how you're feeling, why you're feeling like that, because otherwise it's just money down the drain. It's not useful. You're not going to get as much out of it as you want. And whether you're paying for it or you're not, if you're not paying for it and you're going through the NHS, you've waited 16 weeks for this kind of thing. That's how you've got to see it. Why would you want to then get in that room and not talk about your problems and why you're there? It's really tough, don't get me wrong. Like, I totally understand why you wouldn't open up immediately, but you've really got to. You've got to push through that barrier, through that wall, and just be honest. And the final question, question 8, is what questions will they ask? So again, I've kind of answered this, but they will ask you, in the early days, it will be them trying to understand why you're there. So they'll ask questions around how you're feeling and make you question yourself on why you're feeling like that. They'll ask questions around your personal life, your family, your friends, your career, any mental health issues you've had in the past. They'll try and dig into the kind of the more unconscious elements of why you're feeling like you are. So they'll just dig, really. It's hard to, like, if I'm talking to my therapist and I'm saying, oh, I got really angry this week, she'll ask me, but what was it in particular that made you angry? And if I can't answer that question, she'll be like, what were you doing that day? Who were you with? What were you doing? What was it about that task or that person or that event or that situation that you're in that made you so angry? And actually, what's the underlying emotion that the anger is covering? So like, maybe I was feeling fearful or scared or vulnerable, and it will be her trying, or him trying, to understand why. Answering that question and digging deep into why, for example, you were feeling angry was actually because you were fearful that you weren't able to complete that task at work that day, or that you would be judged for not being able to complete that task, or you wouldn't do the task well enough, like that kind of thing. And then why that affects you so much. Why are you feeling vulnerable? Has someone said something to you that's made you question your ability? That kind of line of thinking. So yeah, that's all the questions I've got for today. I hope this video has been useful. Thank you to those that did send over questions. Sorry I couldn't include them all. There was a lot of overlap, as you've seen even on this video, but if you check out the video uploaded yesterday, you will see that the roller coaster of mental health journey I have been on over the past decade, so check that one out as well. And I just hope you look after yourselves. This year has been the most difficult year in our lifetimes, and probably will be for the rest of our lives, so we've got to give ourselves some slack, give ourselves time to chill, to relax, to be with friends, be with family if you can, and just find peace, because this year has been one where we have had no control, and that's tough for a lot of people, and the mental health service at the moment in the NHS is overwhelmed with the amount of people that are suffering with mental health issues. So I think it's very important that this year's theme for World Mental Health Day was suicide prevention, and it's the reason why I put this video together, and the one yesterday as well, because if this video helps one person, my job is done. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I answered quite a lot of questions about counselling and why it's so important, and why I want to speak very openly about counselling and how it works and how it's helped me. So yeah, I hope you like this video. Please give it a big thumbs up, please share it with your friends and family, pop it on your Instagram or on your social media channels. If you want more videos from me, hit the subscribe button. I've got a video coming every week now. I'm really getting into this YouTube mojo and I'm loving creating videos, so I can't wait to share them with you. Stay tuned and I'll speak to you soon. Have a good Sunday. Bye.